All right, it looks like we're focused in here. So, on this blog of my conspiracy broadcasting network, I am going to discuss the daily vehicular stalking that continues. Um, so, I'm going to show you that on camera here. This is my channel. I document the perpetual psychological abuse that I endure on a day-to-day basis, anything from vehicular or fabricated scenarios in a psychosocial setting. Um, this particular conspiracy is occurring in all avenues and aspects of my life, specifically the most impactful being the occupational and educational setting. Um, which obviously reflects the control over the finances and things like that. So, um, on this episode, as the title mentioned, this is going to be going through a R2 4K dash camera, which I use on a day-to-day basis. They've hacked it in the past and removed specific clips and whatnot. And so now I do live feeds that are raw and uncut, and I don't do any rendering of any videos of the such anymore because they've infiltrated the computer system, the OS, and specifically my laptops, my phones, every phone that I've ever had since a teenager. They've been surveying that um, for well over a decade now, and had premeditated plans as a teenager to uh, I guess, if you will, engage in this campaign of isolation and oppression and psychosocial abuse, physical abuse and harm, and so many other things, and specific to the Constitution, targeting privileges that other citizens would have. They try to hampen or dampen, if you will, my ability to exercise those rights and those privileges. Um, so previous, what's going on, bud? Your feet itch? So previous vlogs, you're going to see there's a new pattern of abuse with these white SUVs. For years, it's always been red vehicles, or they'll take blue vehicles and they'll bring these convoys of vehicles in. Within the last year, I would say arguably the last maybe half of a year, maybe around, I don't know, I have to look at my vlogs, but they've been inundating me with perpetual white SUV um, convoys. Two things that are going to be connected to that are, the last time I've known my mother to have a vehicle, it was a white SUV, and she's played a pretty big component of this abuse. And then I was going to get a white Durango, right? When I moved and bought this house. And so, long story short, excuse me, now they're coming around and using this perpetual abuse on targeting the things that I want, and then targeting my past traumas or past triggers, if you will. So anything that I feel is distasteful, anything that has abused me financially, emotionally, um, educationally, but financial, anything that is a means of abuse, they will then take it and then constantly bring it into my visual space. They're using a technology that allows them to hear and see what I'm saying right now. And then what they do is they go out and perpetually ambush me, whether it be in the grocery store, whether it be in the locker room. Fact of the matter is, let's talk about what happened since the last vlog. So we talked about the grocery store ambushes as well. vehicle stuff I'm going to get to, but I want to talk really quick about this company that I'm working for, and they are using my my professional prowess, if you will, and my attention to detail against me. Um, so there's a lot to talk about, but what I'm going to talk about on this video, I guess, is the occupational piece, and then I'm going to drag us into the whole vehicular thing. This happens every day, but I just wanted to show you some more objective evidence. So, occupationally, I work for this company um, who does this is a side job type thing, and they do home health. And in this home health, they've been abusing me with a lot of prophylactic conversation. They'll bring me and connect me to not residents, but clients who are associated with any type of um, foreshadowable or foreseeable actions or activities that I'm going to partake in. And then they'll make sure to have a conversation about it with me so that it reflects something in the future. I was taking care of this gentleman, and he wanted to have a conversation about um, how I was going to go into. He was having a conversation about his son going into healthcare technology, and the whole time I was with this guy, all he ever talked about was his son going into health technology, and I'm going in, and now I'm transitioning horizontally into health tech, right? And then he wants to prophylactically have a conversation and tell me that his son was in it for 6 months, and he doesn't think he's going to make it though. And so what they do is they bring me with this company that I'm working for. And honestly, I'm just going to start giving names out because it's so orchestrated, and it's like dealing with an ant mound. Everybody, there's so many people involved in my intimate life as well as my professional life, and it's all on one plane. It's all on one gradient at this point. There's no reason, and this is a conspiracy broadcasting network, so at this point in time there's no reason to try to separate like my professional life from my personal life, because what they do is they take my personal life and they bring it into the professional life. And then what they do is they foreshadow things that I'm doing in my private quarters, okay, in my private life. Like if I'm going and purchasing something right now on Amazon, okay, and tomorrow I go to work, there's one of the coworkers will have a conversation about an article of clothing that I just bought. They may have a conversation about where I might be heading because I have preemptively made travel plans. So they're going to have a conversation about it in third person, somewhere close enough within conversational space for me to hear. Okay. So at this point in time, this is a conspiracy broadcasting network that is to display and portray this unconstitutional campaign, okay, that has infiltrated all aspects of my life. HIPAA is out the window because everybody is using my own personal and private information and then reflecting it back at me in the professional setting. Okay. And then you have years of slander and defamation and this whole smear campaigning. So, it's just like they want me to safeguard all of this health information, but it's like they're using the health information to abuse me. So I don't know what there is to safeguard necessarily, but we had a discussion about, I guess the whole big penis thing, which is a redundant activity that they put me through. Where at one point in time I was tasked with a gentleman here in town as a home care um, aide, and the gentleman had a big penis, and then all of a sudden I get home, and for like a couple weeks straight I get all of these ads, right, because they're listening in on my phone, right, and they're orchestrating all my geospatial location and my habits. So for some odd reason I just habitually get these ads about how to increase my penis size on YouTube, when I'm trying to just, surf the net on YouTube or whatever, or I'll be getting it from my cell phone, um, as well on my YouTube stuff, because it's all Google accounts, right? Or all of a sudden, like, it'll be hypersexualized on my Facebook feeds and everything. So it's just like it's a network, almost like a root system, is what I would best describe it as, a root system where they're using my social media to then orchestrate further abuse into the professional setting. They are very hell bent on making sure that I have mistakes all the time. Um, my last shift, I pulled up on a gated community and was going to take care of a gentleman. And this gated community requires a gate code. Now, in the past, these gate codes, floor codes, door codes to the ER, any type of code you can think of, they'll use this to harass you. So you could be in training, for example, like as a medic going into the ER. They usually have a door code, or you'll go into the ER EMS room, for example. They may have a door code depending on where it is that you're working. What assets they have, and what tier hospital. Typically, tier 1 will have an ER room, EMS room. Anyways, I get to this gated community and I have instructions. I read my care plans. I did my due diligence, started putting in the code, and then of course the code wouldn't work. Super common. When I go to clinicals, okay, in rotations, when I was working on my side hustle, I've got a CNA side hustle, okay, as well as my medic. And during those rotations, they'll make sure to give you incorrect door information. They'll say, enter through such and such floor. It's such and such code. You go to beat the code in, and then the code doesn't work. You have IT doing one of two things. Either they froze that code, okay, or changed it somewhere in a computer room before you got there, or they'll make an excuse, or it's just not working for some reason, yada, yada, yada. And the purpose here is to punk you, okay? So you're navigating this training process, and their purpose is to punk you, okay? To make you feel inadequate and to humiliate. And they do this all the time. And this particular day, okay, was no different, okay? They wanted me to get into this gated community, and they gave me the information. I punched it in exactly as instructed, and the door didn't work. So they punk you once, right? They humiliate you once. Now you have to do one of two things. You either have to call the client, or you have to call ideally, the first thing you do is you call the office, right? And of course, they know you're calling. They see that you're calling. Okay, caller ID. And they won't answer. And they'll just sit there and let it ring. Now they'll do one of two things. They'll sit there and let it ring, and then right before it goes to either a voicemail or leave a voicemail, then they'll pick it up. Okay, and they'll just let you flounder, okay, and drown in this humility, right? This state of humility, like you can't open the door. Big whoop. Okay. The whole time they give you wrong instructions. Okay. So that's what I had to go through. And then afterwards, I'm instructed to call the client. I call the client where I have to, punch in these intercom system codes, and I get to the intercom, someone answers, and I let them know that I'm having difficulty. I have the code here and it's not working. They give you the spiel and the runabout. Oh, well, this is the first time it hasn't worked. I wonder what's going on. And they give you this bullshit fucking spiel to try to run it in your face some more, right? And then what happens is you get to talking, and she's like, well, did you try this? And then she gets you to go and try this other coat or whatever. And then all of a sudden the door just opened, like the gate opens, right? So then you get there, and they'll use fear mongering, right? So what they do is they keep tabs on where you place things, right, around your vehicle. Keep tabs on where you place things around your house. Keep tabs on all your purchases. And if you do anything that's not routine, then what they do is they start using conversation about fear mongering. And in this case, on this particular day, in this particular shift, I had my taser here. This is the T7. I had my taser placed in a bag, a day bag. Okay, I was going somewhere and I put this in a day bag, and that's uncommon. I usually don't put this in a day bag. Okay, so I always put it in one or two places. Long story short, they're playing off of this, thinking that I would forget where it would be placed. Now, why would I come to this assumption? Because the abuse that they put me through all these years is this pattern of abuse. Keeping tabs on what I do and where I go, where I place things, and then using fear-mongering conversation about it. And in this case, this is what they did, okay? Taser is yellow, as you see. So I go and I get to this household, and I ask and do the things that I'm supposed to do. I had brought a little coffee canteen, like a miner's coffee canteen. Okay, green one. Matter of fact, what's in the kitchen? Never mind. It's this color. It's just like this, bigger, but it has a handle and a twist top. Okay. Long story short, I brought that and my day and one of my other my business bag, my business bag with me, and I put it in the kitchen. And she immediately wants to gravitate towards my thermos. This, okay, it's just a little bit bigger with a handle. Immediately wants to gravitate towards taking possession of it and placing it on the kitchen counter. Okay, she was headstrong about making sure to grab it and put it on the kitchen counter. I'm just like, okay, that's fine, whatever. It's not going to spill. It's like double closed basically, because the top is a cup and then the inside is actually a screw lid, so it's like it's double sealed. But anyways, I'm like, okay, I already know what she's trying to do. She's trying to, number one, make you forget it, and number two, she's trying to create entropy. Second, you get in there. By the way, I forgot to tell you, when the gate opened, they sent me a push notification with the correct passcode, because they're keeping tabs on where I am geospatially, and then they'll send me a spoof notification. So I went through all that trouble of sitting around and calling and doing all this stuff. And this is what they do. This is not the first time. This is not my first rodeo. This is not the first time this has happened. This has happened multiple times. Every time I go through rotations or I go to some new place, they send you through training, quote unquote, and they do this to punk you and to walk you down, okay, and deliberately abuse you. Back to the taser, back to the canteen. I get the thermos. I put the thermos up there where, I let her put it, wherever she wanted to put it, in this little, right beside the wall, basically by the kitchen sink. And we're doing our little, activities, the daily living, our routine. I'm helping this gentleman get his, his health up, if you will. Okay. And long story short, I'm doing what I have to do with his care, and we start talking about changing clothes. All of a sudden, she wants to offer that he wear a yellow shirt, and she's going to wear a yellow shirt. Okay, 2 yellow shirts. So I thought that was interesting. And the family comes over, and she has basically a blue thermos, just like my thermos, but it's a blue thermos, and it's sitting against the wall. And she decides she's going to put her thermos beside my thermos. And guess what color the thermos was? It was a blue thermos. Go figure. So they start inundating me with this color blue. Okay. I look down at my bag, and they had some blue stuff down near my bag. If I tried to move it somewhere else, they had a little blue ornament or object near my bag. Okay. And so this continues, right? And the whole mocking me with the blue thermos piece. And I could talk more about this some other time, but going back to the taser, I had left. Okay. I left, went through this abusive type conversation, and I just let it roll like I have to let everything roll. And that's the problem, is this stuff continues because there's no consequences. That's why this stuff continues, because there's no, all of this stuff, including vehicular stuff, including occupational abuse, all of it fucking goes on because there's no consequences. That's why. So that's important to note, because there's no consequences. So all of this touching me and rubbing into me, hitting me with carts in the grocery store, right? All of that stuff, all of this shit goes on because there's been no consequences. That's super important to fucking remember, because there's been no consequences. So anyways, I leave, and I leave my shift, and I had stayed there damn near 8 hours or more, I believe, that day. And I went fishing. And every time I go fishing, I think it was later during Christmas, I believe. I think it was on the 23rd or something when I caught those big fish. I get this tingling sensation that my taser isn't on my waist. And I always have this thing on my waist, this yellow taser. I'm like, surely I didn't leave it somewhere, did I? I was like, I didn't. I always leave it in a couple places, 2 places, right? And this is the same time where I was unloading and loading some of my equipment, and remotely they were locking the door. So they wait for me to get my stuff in the rod box, and the keys are just sitting there dangling on the rod box, like it's not being accidentally pushed, right? Okay. And all of a sudden, I just unlocked the whole car. All of a sudden, the second I close it and go to reach for the door, then they'll lock the door. Watching my movements, then they'll lock the door. And they'll do this bullshit, right? This has happened literally like a week and a half ago. This is what we're talking about. So I'm sitting here thinking to myself, that's so strange. So I go fishing, and the whole time in the very back of my head, I'm like, there is no way that I lost or I misplaced this taser. There's just no way. And for the life of me, I was like, I didn't accidentally drive away when maybe I put it on top of the car, and maybe it fell off the car or something, did I? And I'm going through all of these scenarios, right? And then the whole time I'm thinking, that's why they're wearing these 2 blue shirts, thinking that I'm going to have to purchase a second taser or something, right? I'm going to have to get 2. And so it's strange to me. I'm always paying attention to these things, just like the thermos, right? I have no clue why she would want to grab my thermos and place it there, knowing ahead of time that one of her family members was going to bring a thermos and put it right beside mine. I haven't seen anyone use a thermos in forever. The fact that she was using a thermos just was very odd to me. But But that's the thing, is they keeping tabs on my personal possessions and then working off of it, or fear mongering me about fishing in tournaments. I've had a lot of fear mongering about that. I've had fear mongering about surgery. I had fear mongering about all of this bullshit, gaslighting, and all this stuff. And that's why it just led me to believe that it's like all of these actions that and interactions that I have with people are all there to feed off of something that is in my mental space. Okay. And so they're using these two yellow shirts for some reason, which is peculiar from my perspective. I've been around people and seen the selection of clothes that they choose to have for quite some time. And so I found that my taser was placed in my day bag later that evening, thinking that I had lost it. They were using this fear mongering, preemptively ambushing me. This has gone on since then. I go to the grocery store and everything that I touch has a problem, right? You go to the oat section, and for some reason, someone put a second lid on the oat that I grabbed, the oat container that I grabbed. There's always something that is a problem, okay? Um, I go to the gym, and what they'll do is they'll shuffle the 35s and the 40s, or they'll shuffle the 45s and the 40s, and they'll shuffle them around to see if you grab them, right? Just to punk you. And this is an ongoing thing all the time. And the thing is I don't go out much, but it's always there every single time I go out. Okay. Same thing with the lockers today in Planet Fitness. Um, it appeared as if one of the locks was working. I got all my stuff in there, and then I double checked it and realized it didn't work, right? And then what they want to do is they'll abuse you mentally, and then every time you go to a trash can, they'll have some stranger come up and throw trash into the trash can. So it's like you can't just walk in this social space without having this innuendo or this subliminal message, right? That you're trash or something. Because it's this perpetual frequency of timing. Every time you go and turn, there's someone throwing something in the trash, waiting for you to turn, throw something in the trash. You go up to the towels and get something from the little towel box and sanitize the napkin towel. Someone comes up, throws trash in there. It's the same thing every single time I go to the gym. They're trying to find problems. Back to the occupational piece. Not only do they harass you with instructions, okay? Not only do they harass you with instructions, but they'll harass you with assignments. For example, I had same company. I had a on call where I was notified that I would be arriving at a specific time. I believe it was like 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, I think. No, I said 10:45. 10:45 is when we agreed. And so what happens is if I clock in after 10:45, then I get a bunch of push notifications, and I'm supposed to do all of these things in sequence. I'm supposed to call somebody, I'm supposed to explain myself, yada, 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 yada. So I do what I'm supposed to do. I get there, I clock in, and all of a sudden I look at my email and my text, and I'm getting all these push notifications saying that I didn't clock in, I didn't clock in, I didn't clock in. Like, I think, like three of them, three notifications. And so someone had put in the time for, like, instead of 10:45, put it in for like 10:40 or 10:30 or something like that. And so I'm getting all of these flags. That same shift that I work, um, they had one of the clients' family members call to relay that they wanted me back. And they didn't just call the front office. They called the CEO, like the guy who owns the company, and say, "Hey, like we like Michael. I go by Sebastian, my middle name. We like Michael, and we want him back. I wanted to talk to the guy who owns the place, make sure we can get him back. So what they do is they orchestrate a humility, right? They orchestrate this humility and this veil, this hood of uh, of mishaps, okay, to put you in a specific mental state, and then they try to orchestrate dominance by saying, "Well, we're going to call your CEO, and gosh, we hope that you listen, okay, and we're going to have him talk, you, me, and him in third person." And so she calls him while she's on speaker with him, so I could hear and everything, and he could talk to me, and we could all talk. And they're using this psychological campaign of abuse, humility, and mishaps to then orchestrate dominance over you in order to conform to what they want. It's complete manipulation. This is, and you would say, well, how would you know that this particular scenario is just that? Well, hell, if anybody has been if a mouse has been through a fucking scenario over several dozens of times in this case, don't you think even a fucking mouse would know, right? Even a mouse would have learned, okay? Even a dog would have learned at this point. They put through dozens of the same scenarios, right? So it's beyond just, subjective, or perhaps it's just life type of perspective, right? It's always manipulation and abuse. Always manipulation and abuse. Okay. Come to find out, I have a new instructor at one of the community colleges, and she's a physician assistant. It's always a rolling punches. It's always rolling punches, right? And so the history on that and background is they're in all of my electronics, and they're orchestrating conspiracy while I was in physician assistant school to go through the school, never graduate because of the abuse and the stalking, okay, and the unconstitutional fucking harassment, all right, and then the financial injury, okay, thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars just to be fucking removed forcibly by this campaign of lies and deceit. Okay. So all of a sudden, lately, I've been getting passive aggressive response from the coordinator, trying to flex on me, okay, because I don't want to oblige to further abuse and their toxic behavior. And this goes on at every job, and they make sure that they continue to do it. You know why? Because there's no consequences. That's why. Very important to understand that. And so they continue to do it so that you continue to go to a different job. And then you have to go through a new learning gradient. Then you go through a new training. Then you go through the new everything, all right, all over again. And then you're stuck not being able to get a loan, stuck not being able to get the financial freedom that you want, stuck always going to these revolving doors, right? You try to start a 1099, your own business. No one wants to opt for that because they want you jumping from job to job. They don't want to have you. They don't want you to have business. They want you to be this slave under your 1040, right? Jumping job to job and being abused by people like in companies like Shoals and Regional, right? And that's how it works. So all of a sudden, this passive aggressive communication has started to unveil itself, which is not answering or responding, after I make responses. So it's interesting to me. And this is the same company where I was working with a gentleman, and he tries to take my leg out by snapping me back, right? And so I'm trying to help him up, and he decides that he's going to snap, right? Because I was on one of my legs, I noticed days prior that there was something kind of strange going on in my knee. And all of a sudden, I get there to help this guy out, and this guy decides he's going to snap me. He's going to snap back and try to make things worse while I'm trying to help him up. And we did a 3 count. I gave him instructions, and he decides he's going to snap back and try to injure me. The same gentleman waited for me to do a 1-week vacation to go take care of personal belonging or personal business, and decides that he's gonna like shit and piss all over everything when he's never done that before. But he knew because I was gonna be off for a week that before the shift ended, he was gonna do that. This is the type of bullshit that I go through. Okay. And then, in physician assistant school, they're in my research, destroying all of my papers that I'm trying to do research on. And then while all of this is going on, I have thousands of people driving around following me everywhere I fucking go to this day. They've been doing it. It's just now they're doing it overtly. Okay. Before it was covertly. Okay. When I was a teenager, when I was a kid, that was all covertly in order to manipulate me. And my parents were the number one sponsors of that shit. Okay. And the number one manipulators, and my grandparents. Okay. And then whenever I get out to the real world, I'm getting ready to get a substantial job with substantial money. They make sure to sour that opportunity and oppress me and make sure that they engage in this overt, in this case, at this point. At that point was in 2014, but that was the overt switch. Okay. And the reason why this goes on, because there's no consequences. Super important to realize that. So, anyways, now we're just going to hop into this whole vehicular piece. I'm going to show you where I was going to a wildlife refuge where I knew that I was going to be going off-roading to a degree. Okay. To what degree? Not sure. I did learn that it would require more than just the standard 4x4 in order to get to where this fishing location was. So it did require more than a 4x4. A 2-wheel front wheel drive would just be fine and adequate to navigate most of the fire breaks, but to get actually to the destination would require a very significant lift of the vehicle. Even a truck wouldn't have gotten through there. A 4x4 truck wouldn't have gotten through there unless it was substantially lifted. All right. So now I'm going to go through the video here. And we're going to do a screen share. This is on a daily basis what I have to deal with. So I'm leaving the house, and when I'm leaving my house here, you'll notice that there's no vehicles that passed. Very interesting, right? And this is where they're fucking with your mind, literally predating on your mind at this point, right? Because so many videos I've shown you where they intercept me. Okay, they intercept me the second I get to driving. In this case, they want to fuck with me real hard, okay? Like they always do. No vehicles around, but what we've always mentioned is that they always come around turns. And lo and behold, we have our first one. And it's important that you understand, again, since last vlog, it was what? A truck, right? We talked about that gray truck. Look at me, gray truck. We're going to start out with the gray truck. We're going to anchor with the gray truck. We're just going to anchor with the truck. And that's the new concept. Since about 2 weeks ago, that's been the newest concept. And my objective evidence shows that when you look at videos that I established in the beginning of November. Okay. So that's something you can compare and contrast as part of the evolution of the abuse, right? And that evolution requires surveillance, and it requires a premeditated or a preemptive understanding of your destination and your thoughts and where you're going. I know nobody, okay? I don't know anyone around here. I don't talk to anybody around here. I don't even tell people on my fishing page or anywhere from the past where I'm going. The only reason why they know where I'm going is because they're surveying my computer in real time and what I'm doing on my browsing maps, and they look at it and then they abuse me. Okay, so as you'll see here, it is the 5th and it is almost noon and there is nobody around. Nobody. Ghost town. Okay, contrast that with other videos. Okay, contrast that with other videos. No one around. This is part of the fuckery. Okay, look down the road. Look at the intersection. Middle of the day, 11:30. Okay, this is 11:30. Now, you might be saying, what is this? The 5th? The 5th was yesterday, which is Sunday. Okay, people should be driving around church or getting off of church, something like that. It's Sunday, so of course it might be a little quieter than usual, but you'll notice that it's substantially quiet. Okay. If you look down here, there's no vehicles crossing the roads. This is a real common area of abuse. They'll take 2 vehicles and drive them side by side, one on this side road and then one up farther, and they'll drive them down this alley right here and cross this road. They'll cross the road, okay, down this road right here. Call it an alley, but it's a road. And they'll just orchestrate this visual circus all the time, every time I get to this intersection. Maybe it's just Sunday, I don't know. But it's quiet. It is purposefully quiet because you'll find out soon. So you get to driving. Okay, you get to driving. And you're doing what you're supposed to do. Whatever that may be. Just mind your own business in this case. Down, please. You need to get down or you need to stay up? Come on, lay down, please. Lay down. I want you to lay. Thank you. Stop bothering me. I'm doing something. And so you get up here and immediately you're hit with this barrage of white vehicles. And of course, what do you have? Drive right beside you as you're entering. Lo and behold, okay. It's not just one. They made sure to bring 2, right? Not just one. They made sure to bring 2. And then they're going to sit here and drive in front of you the whole time. And you're just going to drive all the way through. Now, you'll notice we talked about this in the past. Okay? So we had this red SUV. Okay? He goes about his business, right? So they hit me with this white SUV bullshit, red SUV bullshit. You drive. They know you're coming off this exit. So what are they going to do? Remember we talked about this is always a area of abuse. This is always an area of interception. And this is today, in this case yesterday, it was no different, right? They're going to drive this red SUV right past you. And this white SUV is going to continue to do what it does. More white SUVs here. Look at me. I want you anchored into the white SUVs as you go enjoy, a peace of mind, a privilege, right? To go navigate to a new place. We're going to follow you, right? And harass you. Go. And then we're off, okay? And for some reason, this whole red SUV thing you're going to see is just nonstop. Okay. And then there's always, if you were to actually take this video and play it back, you'll see that these cars, those red cars, will come in intervals. For some reason, they're always in intervals. I don't know why, but all of a sudden we're relatively okay. But then guess what? Here it comes again, and they keep running this red SUV for some reason. It's like a red SUV or a red car. I don't know what the deal is, but it's an interval, and you just, if you keep playing the video back and forth, you'll see that they always come in these intervals. They're prepared for you. They've been driving. They're all orchestrated. This intercept, as it intercepts your visual field in this case, you'll notice on the opposing lane, there's always a red vehicle there as well. This is super common. Just like I just replayed that white SUV going onto the on-ramp, intercepting it with two other SUVs. Matter of fact, if you didn't see it, let's just replay it so you can see it, okay? Which is right here, right? Right here. Drive, 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 and there's the two white SUVs. One there and one there. And it's no different than when you first came on. They're replaying it. Stop, please. Back, back. Thank you. And if we go all the way back and come back on and we replay it, what do we have here? Two white SUVs. And this is what I'm talking about. So every time you come to a intersection and you drive anywhere, your mind is thinking that there is a problem with on-ramps and off-ramps everywhere you go. You can't just fucking drive. It's always a problem. Stop, please. It's always a problem. Right? So back to where we were. This red white thing, I don't know what it's all about. Stop, please. Stop. But it's this interval piece with these vehicles. And then you have this weirdo swerving around. Like, I don't know what that's all about. But he's swerving around, kind of doing his thing. And you'll notice if you were to play the video again, it's always a timing piece when they bring every, I would say it looks like if I played it maybe every 45 seconds to a minute, they're going to do a revolution of white SUV and red vehicle all the way down there. Okay. Here's this weird shit that they do. I don't know what the thing is with this, but it's like they have to have a convoy of 3 gray vehicles and the white SUV, you know, and they just keep doing this nonstop, this weird shit. And you've seen how there was a long period of rest. See how they're fucking with you? There's this long period of rest in this section right here after that red vehicle. There's a long period of rest, right? And what that long period is them orchestrating behind me the next means of attack. That's exactly what this is. So this long rest that you see here is just them literally lining up behind me and orchestrating the configuration of the colors that they want. In this case, then they all speed up. Remember, the speed limit here is 60. Okay? The speed limit here, I believe, is 60. And they all are behind you. They're not driving normally. These are all people who know you, and their sole task is to drive in a fashion that annoys you and harasses you. Okay? And so it went from nothing to all of a sudden just blowing up in your face with these fucking vehicles, and then they drive the white SUV. So you see how they harass you. They go from absolutely nothing going on for quite some time here, right, to all of a sudden just coming up and invading your visual space. Okay? And they keep doing this pattern. And this goes on. When I go to work, They keep following you with this whole white SUV thing. It's just nonstop. It's fucking nonstop. You'll see that there's just intervals of these white SUVs coming. Okay, so now the trucks start coming in. There's a reason why all the trucks start coming in. I'm going to stop sharing now. There's a reason why. It's because I get to this place and I find out that after driving through it and navigating, learning how to drive through the fire breaks and all the hazards, the rocks and everything, the pine trees, I learned that you would ideally need a truck to get through it. But even if you had a truck, in most cases, I would never navigate a standard 4x4 truck through any of the terrain that I had went through. Now, other fire breaks and other sections of that particular spot or that river, yes, maybe. I don't know. But I do know I was woefully under under equipped, okay, for that particular section. Okay, but I arrived safely and I put in at a different location. But that's the whole piece there with the inundation then of the trucks. And you'll see there that there's just a barrage of trucks driving by nonstop. It's always something. It's always a way to fuck with your mind. So my little buddy here is telling me that he's definitely got to go. So we're going to cut it right here. And we'll pick up on some other videos and vlogs with key players in the conspiracy next time.